Welcome back to Card Corner. Today we are doing an unboxing and review of the Sonder edition of the Jakey Frank playing cards by Komorebi. All right, here we have the Jakey Frank's Sonder edition. This is somewhat of a sequel deck, but not really. It's more like just kind of like a part two, which I know that's what a sequel is, but they released these pretty soon after the initial release of the Jakey Franks, so it's kind of just like a special edition. The first edition featured these pale grays and greens, and they went for a more colorful approach for the Sonder edition. I remember tuning into a live stream from Jakey Mills. They specifically referenced the Anyone Cap logo deck that featured the reds and purples and how they really liked how like funky of a combination that was and how the reds really popped out. So obviously that was a very big inspiration for this deck. The first edition was printed in Taiwan, not entirely sure where specifically or what manufacturer, but these were made by WJ. This is actually the first WJ deck in Komorebi's line. So let's just get right into it. It's got a pull tab so you can open your cards nice and easily. Ooh. So it says Komorebi right here in that bold red. We get Frank right here. It features this dark purple and a light purple outline. And then we get red for the eyes and mouth. And the design curves around the side of the box here. We get a red exclamation mark and a Frank. And then we get a Jakey Franks right here with another exclamation mark. Oh, god damn it. This is a trend with some WJ decks. It's like the paper's so smooth that it creates like this suction cup effect on the tuck box. This is not the first time this has happened, I swear to God. Look at other reviews with the, oh! All right, we just get a Sonder edition right there. Before we continue with this review, if you like this video, please like it. It really helps out my channel. And of course, if you'd like to see more playing card content and reviews, you should subscribe. You can even hit the bell button to get notified when new videos drop. Back to the review. There's the back design. It features Frank with an exclamation in the corner and a Frank right there. The exclamation is a really nice touch because we get peaks of that throughout the fan, if it's in new deck one-way order, of course. But obviously, even if you shuffle up the cards, I'm sure you'll get peaks of it, as well as the Franks right here as well. All right, we get a full note from Jakey Mills right here. The afternoon train was packed. While I had been having a blast visiting some friends in the city, everyone around me seemed to be heading home after a long day of work. I noticed an older woman repeatedly drifting off to sleep. Her chin slowly sank down before jolting up over and over again. I saw relief on the face of a construction worker as he rested from what must have been an excruciating day. I could feel my muscles begin to ache in sympathy. Suddenly, a strange feeling rushed over my body, a feeling that continued to swarm me. I realized that these people are the main characters in their lives. The heroes of their stories. To them, I was just another stranger. On the surface, the idea that everyone lives equally complex lives is obvious. However, I can't seem to regularly wrap my head around that fact. The best my brain can do is grant me profound, memorable, and mystifying moments of Sonder. Holy shit, dude. All right. That's kind of a crazy ad card to put. I think this is the first like poetic ad card that we've ever gotten on a Komorebi deck. Usually it's just like pictures or like short phrases. Yeah, that was a lot more intense than I was expecting the ad card to be. We get a card here that says Sonder, Jakey Edition. I really like this kind of sharp font that they went with. And I like how small it is actually too. It's really sleek. Really sleek, really like it. We get the familiar instructional exclamation mark card. These were found in the original Jakey Franks, and more recently, the Florenz Sonos deck seems to be a trend for all of their collaboration decks. It's basically just this logo and the instructions that were given to them by the person they're collaborating with. So right here it says, design custom face cards, use purples and reds, sample AFSM pip structure. That is referring to the AFSM playing cards. And we get a big, bold, red Komorebi logo card right here with the Komorebi website flipped upside down. There's the Ace of Spades, big, bold, beautiful, colorful. We get all shades of purples in the design here with that really deep red backdrop in the ace. And then we obviously get these flipped pips right over here, and we get a purple and a red, which is really cool. So obviously when you fan this way, you get all purple. And when you fan this way, you get all red. I'm really loving the bright reds in the black pips. Obviously we get some more color, like we get some purples, but I'm always a huge fan of when spades or clubs are red suits. Oh. And then we get really specific custom court cards here. We continue to get these really funky, morphy shapes. It's just a really, really abstract deck of cards, which is kind of what Komorebi is known for at this point. They're known for their abstract art. I'm really enjoying this edition. I thought the artwork was really cool in the first edition, but it did feature a lot of grays. These big, bold reds and purples are really allowing these court cards to shine in this edition. We get the same pip structure throughout the hearts here. Here are the court cards for the hearts. Now you'll notice the Queen of Hearts is actually facing the right direction, and it's the only card in the entire deck that does so. I'd be interested to know why the Queen of Hearts in particular, but either way, very cool, very neat. This dude looks like a hammerhead shark. We continue on with the same kind of pips in the clubs. Here are what the clubs look like. Here are the court cards for the clubs. And here are the court cards for the diamonds. I'm almost certain I said this in my original review for the first edition of the Jakey Franks. This looks like the Squidward painting in SpongeBob, dude. Now, whoever I was speaking to over at Komorebi, I actually don't know who I was speaking to specifically, but they were telling me that this is actually their favorite edition when it comes to their WJ decks, specifically on feeling and handling, which is high praise. If you saw my recent review of their Black Dog and Florin Sonhos deck, you know that I really, really enjoyed the feeling of those decks. In fact, I would say those are the best handling WJ decks to date across the board, across brands. So far, these do feel good. These feel really good right out the box, but I am going to have to actually handle them for a little while to see how they hold up, to see if I like them as much, if not more, than those two recent editions when it comes to the feeling and handling. But I will say it is a high bar for me. Overall, quick thoughts. I will say the original Jakey Franks were a little underwhelming to me. I was a massive fan of the awful Frank playing cards. That's a really nostalgic deck for me, and it's kind of a hard deck and design to beat for me. And I think some of those duller colors, like the dull grays and the dull green that they went with, just wasn't fully hitting for me. Now, when I first saw this deck, I wasn't super sold on it either, considering that it's modeled after the purple and red anyone cap deck. I literally refer to that deck as the ugly cap deck. I never fully got the appeal of that one, but like a lot of things and like a lot of decks, seeing this deck in person, it has charmed me more than I thought it would already. I think for this deck in particular, the purples and the reds really work well together. I think because it's not just a deck that says anyone, and there are some design elements to it, I think that really helps with the color scheme combination for me. And overall, I definitely enjoy it more visually than the first edition of the Jakey Franks. And unfortunately, another underwhelming part of the first edition for me was how they felt and handled. They were made in Taiwan. Usually Taiwan decks for me hit. I like a good Taiwan deck. This Taiwan deck kind of under-delivered. I didn't love how those felt. But so far, right out of the box, these feel really good. They feel a lot softer. I think that might have been one of the main things. The other deck felt kind of sharp. It's a bit sharp on the edges, but this deck is nice and soft. All right, I am going to handle these playing cards for a while and I will be right back. All right, here is my final score and thoughts on the Sonder edition of the Jakey Frank playing cards. Back design, as I said in my review, overall, I believe this is an upgrade from the first edition of the Jakey Franks. Overall, I didn't hate the first edition. I was just a little underwhelmed with some of the color choices, but these really big, bold colors like the reds and the dark and light purples really help this back design shine in this edition for me. I think it really helps the design elements pop out more, and it creates a lot more dimension to the playing cards. I'll give the back design a solid 8, which I think is a really good score. For context, I gave the first edition a 7.5, and for the original Awful Franks, although they might be one of my favorite Komorebi decks, I don't think I'd go higher than like an 8.5. Love the Awful Franks, very nostalgic. It's a weird deck. This is a weird deck. Super abstract themes and design choices. It's funky. I love how funky it is. It is a bit more of an acquired taste. It's a bit more of a mood deck, you know? You need to be more in a mood for this deck of cards. Things like the Sonos decks, like the Brutalist design, things that are super straightforward and minimalist, are more versatile on a day-to-day basis. This deck, great design. They're fucking weird, you know? And again, I love how weird they are. Feeling and handling. I will give the feeling and handling an 8.8. They handled extremely well right out the box, on par with those Black Dog and Florin Sonos decks that I mentioned in the review, the ones that I really liked. Overall, those decks, the Black Dog and the Florin Sonos, those decks held up longer than this edition. The Sonder Franks clumped up faster than those decks, but overall, I'd say they held up longer than other WJ decks that I've had before in the past. And overall, they felt really, really good right out the box, and I really enjoyed how they handled in general. Overall theme and aesthetic, I'll give this a solid 9. They get all the way up to an 8 at least, just like the back design, because of how funky and weird they are. I think the pip structure for me with those purples and reds push this up to a 9. I really enjoy mainly red pips in a deck. I think it looks really cool. And also, surprisingly, that Sonder edition card, I really like that card. I like how sleek it is. I like how small the text is. I feel like it's really cool to see that in motion. When you're doing cardistry, it really helps break up the chaos of the deck, you know? It's a nice breath of fresh air to see in motion while you're doing cardistry. That gives the Sonder edition a total deck score of 8.6. Really good score. Again, I had my reservations about this deck when I first saw it, but it really won me over in person. It's always a very pleasant surprise when a deck does that. It's like you really just don't know how you're gonna like a deck of cards, unfortunately, until you finally are using it. This is a really solid deck of cards to get from Komorebi. Huge shout out to Komorebi, by the way. They sent me these decks for a review, so this is a sponsored review. And let me just tell you how fucking cool Komorebi is. I'm gonna peel back the curtain just a little bit on this one. I've been really reaching out to companies trying to get sponsors. As a lot of you may know, all of these reviews that I do are completely out of pocket. And that's not sustainable, buddy. So I'm really trying my best to start collaborating with more brands. Recently, I did a Square Up Cards collaboration. They sent me their fanning powder, but those weren't a deck of cards. That was a product, so that was more straightforward. But with deck reviews, I give companies two options. I understand that the rating system that I do for reviews is a big ask, you know? They could send me a deck of cards and I could be like, this deck sucks. It gets a 4. That's not a good deal for the companies. So I say, hey, I can either do a fully rated review video where I fully express my opinion down to a numbered rating of your deck. Or for sponsorship purposes, because I understand this is part of the deal of you sending me these decks as promotional material, I can do everything I do in review videos, go over every detail, say what I do like about the deck, but I will leave the rating out of it. I will not rate the deck. I will just showcase the video. It'll just be an in-depth unboxing showing off your playing cards. Let me tell you, Komorebi looked me dead in the eyes via DM on Instagram and said, nah, give it a rating, brother. That is so badass. So please drop a respect down in the comments for Komorebi. That's crazy. Because like I said, they could have sent me these cards and I could have been like, these suck 5, you know, like, and they went, nah, do it anyways. I'm curious. I'm curious as to what your rating is for these cards. And that felt really good. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for doing that too. It really allowed me to create a comfortable and fun video doing what I do best, giving out these scores. And I think that's gonna be like a rarity, you know? I don't think as many brands are gonna be on board with that. I think if I get more sponsorships, it's gonna be on the other side of it where I don't give it a rating, which I'm fine with. You know, I really enjoy making these videos. I wanna make more sponsored content. I wanna be able to put out these videos when I can, and getting sponsored content is gonna help me with that. But I just wanted to say, that's so cool that they were just like, nah, give it to me straight. I wanna know what you think about these decks. So if for some reason, somehow you don't already know about Komorebi, please make sure to check them out. I'm gonna link all their socials in the description. I'll link their website. I'm not sure if they currently have any decks for sale right now, but they did sneak peek a deck, and I believe released a new deck at CardistryCon recently, so make sure to keep your eyes peeled for that. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know down below, what do you think of the Sonder edition of the Jakey Franks? Do you like them? Do you hate them? Do you have the Sonder edition? Do you not have the Sonder edition? Would you like to have the Sonder edition? Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Send my channel to a card enthusiast, and as always, I will see you on the next one.